Join us, Alex
and Colleen,
self-proclaimed fake it till you make it experts, as we navigate the highs and lows of being a woman and how the pressure and overwhelm of trying to do it all often leads to feeling like an imposter in our own lives. In today's episode, join us as we dive into the world of fitness with Shaina Falcone, exploring her journey as an educator, instructor, and influencer, and how she conquers self-doubt while shaping the fitness industry.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Colleen.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I have a question to ask you because we are recording on Friday the 13th.
I know.
Are you super spooky? Are you superstitious?
Yeah, I am a little bit. You know, I'm not against black cats or anything like that, but I definitely knock on a lot of wood.
I knock on wood too.
I know.
Yeah, knock on
Are you?
wood. You know what, I am with some things. I have a necklace with all of my children's names on it, and if I'm not wearing that, I'm a little bit freaked out. Like, I need to wear that. When my son played hockey, I had a lot of superstitions around his hockey game and that sort of
my
stuff.
husband has tons around hockey too.
Yeah. But Friday the 13th
Most
itself,
of them are ridiculous.
no. Right?
Yes.
I know.
I have to wear like certain tights
Yes.
or do this like one thing, and I'm like,
I couldn't throw out my coffee cup. I brought a tea to every hockey game, but I couldn't throw it out until the first period was over. If I threw it out before that, something was happening. Somebody was getting hurt.
When the Oilers were in the playoffs last year, and he's like a lifelong Oilers fan, he didn't watch the fucking games because he was like convinced. I think he must have missed the first one and they won or something. He's like, I can't watch them. So he would just watch the highlights. It was so ridiculous.
Isn't it the greatest? I love that. Superstitions are fun. We have with us today Shaina Falcone. If she was living in Italy, it would be
Falcone.
Shaina, tell us a little bit about yourself. First of all, do you have any superstitions?
Yes.
Well, it was funny when you were talking about sports. Definitely when I'm watching my kids' sports, yeah, if I've done something like I kept my coat on for the first half and they did really well, I can't take the coat off now.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe I should have had some of those. Maybe my son's rugby season would have went a little bit better.
It's all your fault.
I threw out my coffee cup too early. Damn it.
It's your fault. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Shaina.
I am a fitness trainer. I'm a personal trainer, Pilates instructor, nutrition coach, and I have a hybrid coaching business. So I have an app, which I have members wonderfully from all over the world, which is really, really nice. And then I also train clients in person in my studio in Hubbard's.
That's so cool. And you're also learning right now to be a...
Yes, so I am, because I'm never not taking a course.
Yes, of course.
I am right in the middle of getting my certification to be a perimenopause and menopause coach as well.
I find that so fascinating.
Yes.
It
and
is
needed.
Well, that's the thing. All of my clients are sort of, because you can start perimenopause in your late 30s.
Sure.
So, and I train women predominantly over 35, and some of them are 50s and 60s. So this just kept coming up. You know, people were having questions, and I kind of felt like I had some answers, but because I'm the expert imposter, I just felt like I have got to dig deep into this. I really want to know my stuff. So it's fascinating, and I am so obsessed with everything that I'm learning.
If from an imposter syndrome perspective, I think that going through perimenopause and menopause was one of the toughest times for me. And I think you're finding that now as well, Alex.
Waiting my way in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or getting run over by it. I don't know.
Well, it's shocking. It's all of these things that you didn't know were a symptom, and then all of a sudden now everything is a symptom. Every time you've got something going on, somebody goes, "Oh, that's just perimenopause." It's not just. It's a huge thing that's happening to me, and it becomes perimenopause. It's a perimenopause thing. All these things. The biggest shock for me was the anger. I had no idea that anger was such a thing.
It's been less of a problem since I've always been pretty angry. So
Yeah.
Actually, probably less angry now. So maybe, I don't know, just like fixed whatever.
Maybe it's balancing you out. What's been your biggest surprise?
I'm not sleeping. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why I wanted to do this, because I wanted to give women the tools, like, and I wanted women to be empowered and know, like, this doesn't have to be a time where we suffer through and don't sleep and feel that what we call meno rage and all of the things. So it's all about, we have all these tools in our toolbox that we can use. It's not often talked about by your doctor, so you probably won't be given the tools by them. But as a menopause coach, I can help you. It's, it's a combination of lifestyle habits and being an advocate with your doctor.
Right.
Why do you think the generation before us really didn't talk about menopause? Do you think it's just that we're on social media, so we're talking about it more, or like I've got a lot of aunts and nobody really talked to me about this?
I think it's a combination of there wasn't a lot of research done. So there weren't really any studies to show this is actually what's happening. This is what's happening with your hormones. This is what's happening with your body. And no one cared to do the studies. So the doctors didn't have the information to go off of. And it's also not in their scope of practice today. A lot of the doctors that are versed in menopause and perimenopause have to go outside of whatever they learned at med school and learn about this. And now there are some very vocal female doctors on social media that are saying, hey, you don't have to suffer. There are a lot of things we can do. And I think that that's really helpful. There's a lot of great books that are out now that, any woman can pick up and read that will empower you to know, like, okay, there are some things I can do, and also understand this is so normal.
Yeah.
And those resources weren't available to, previous generations.
I think the evolution, too, of just being able to speak more openly about what's going on with women and women's bodies, it wasn't available when our parents were, coming through this time. It wasn't something that you spoke about publicly. That was private talk. And it wasn't something that was considered to be an affliction. It was just, you just went through it, and that was, and it was no big deal, and you just didn't speak about it. Or you just felt like you were going crazy.
Oh my gosh, so many people had to have thought they were going crazy. Because
I thought my mom was crazy for like a good decade.
Right. I thought, I thought I was crazy for a good decade, for sure, going through it. But I knew what was going on. And thank goodness, like I dealt with a naturopath during that time. And that's when I first discovered naturopaths, because they seemed to have, I was working with Dr. Ashley, and she seemed to have a better understanding than my family doctor did. And just a lot of empathy and a lot of understanding for what I was going through. And that was a big part of it, just knowing that somebody...
Well, having that validation that, yes, there are estrogen receptors all over your body. So you will feel effects from your brain to your feet. It's going to affect everything. And just having that validation that, yeah, this is happening to you.
Yeah, I think this is awesome for you. I think this fits in so wonderfully with everything that you're doing and working with women and wellness to just add this huge part of our wellness, menopause and perimenopause. Good for you.
Definitely.
It's it's a lot when you're trying to take a course and run a business and be a mom, but I'm really having to be very strict with myself and plan out my time and make time for this every week.
Yeah, for sure. When will you start taking on coaching clients, or are you sort of doing that already?
I'm already, I've got a full roster of in-person clients. So we're just kind of, as the more information I get, the more I'm giving to them. And then with my online clients, the same thing. It's just allowing me to enhance my programs that I give them.
That's awesome.
Serving up hot brews, refreshing cold drinks, lots of fresh baked goodies, and delicious lunch options. Visit the Mellow Mug in the heart of Larry Utech for dine-in, takeout, or drive-through service. Their spacious cafe offers a casual and inviting vibe that's perfect for everything from enjoying a good book, hanging with friends, or meeting a colleague. The Mellow Mug is your neighborhood spot for great coffee and delicious eats and sweets. So you came up through the fitness world, working in some of the larger gyms, working in the big box gyms kind of thing. Then was it the pandemic that had you then working from home?
Yes. So I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, going to all these different gyms because, when you're a fitness trainer, it is very hard to make a living trying to teach, any type of classes or even privates, at one place. You can only get so many hours. So I was driving everywhere, and I live in Hubbards. So just for context, like that was far. I was driving far. And then, the pandemic, I thought, I'll do some classes through Facebook and see how that goes. And I already had a studio, and I was training maybe 1 or 2 clients and maybe doing a couple group classes, and then started doing it through Facebook. And then it was funny because the imposter syndrome.
We call it imposter sisters all the time.
Okay,
we think they should just change the syndrome to imposter sisters. Yeah.
It kicked in because I thought I could have done this earlier. I wanted to do this years ago, but fear held me back. And then even when I did it, I thought, I don't have the right equipment. I don't have the right lighting, because I was doing it through Facebook. And I thought, I should start a website. I should really start a website. I should start an app. And it held me back for so long. And then I did it, but I wanted to do it right. And, I made so many mistakes. I am glad that I took the leap, but it took me so long to get to where I am now. And I held myself back.
Well, the technical aspect around production and creating quality content is huge. I mean, we had that with our podcast, right? We could only bring it so far, and then we brought in BNV Media for our 3rd season. But you had to feel that as well, that you had to produce some high quality content.
Well, and I am a little embarrassed when I look back at my early videos with the terrible lighting and the bad microphone and all of that, the terrible quality video, but now I feel like I've got my shit together, like I've got the app, I've got the website run by the right people, which was a learning curve to figure that out. I'm happy now with the quality of the video.
Well, some of your posts blew up.
I guess so.
Yeah.
You have a huge following on Instagram, which is, must be amazing in terms of reach and growth. But does that create some levels of imposter syndrome too?
Absolutely.
I can imagine that it would.
Yes. Because when things go big, then you also, you start to feel like, I don't know if I can do that again. I don't know why that blew up. It can't be because of me. Right? You think, well, I don't know, that was a fluke. Like that's imposter syndrome. You just don't believe that it was because something you did. Even though I know that, I've got all the expertise that I want to have and still feel like, I don't know why. And if someone brings it up, I'll try to immediately downplay it.
Oh, always. Always. It's terrible. It's like, oh, no, that was just like you said, that was a fluke. Or, I was lucky. I lucked into it. No, you've worked your ass off.
Yeah.
It literally worked your ass off. And, and it blew up because you're resonating with people, not because you're faking it. You are resonating with a lot of women out there. So
yeah, there's clearly a demand, which is amazing. I want to talk a little bit about the fitness industry as a whole. Because as someone who has, I want to say I'm like fitness industry adjacent. I did some yoga teaching and yoga teacher training, and I've definitely been in the had an interest in fitness for a long time. So I know that there's a lot of themes within the fitness industry that really can lead to self-doubt and anxiety and feelings of imposter syndrome. I'm just curious what your experience is with that in that industry.
Gosh, okay, how long do we have?
Yeah, go for it.
It's really hard because I you try not to look at other accounts too, but you do see these accounts and you see these accounts blowing up, and the things that they're saying really make me angry because of the way they're damaging women's self-esteem. So when I see women, and I think you should know better, saying do this move for a snatched waist, which I cannot stand that, or do this move for a flat belly, or just the amount of misinformation that is out there right now. And sometimes I feel at a disadvantage because I don't like to use gimmicks when I post. So, it is difficult because I don't want to use any of these gimmicks. And I do want to validate the idea that, it's okay if you do want to change things about your body. Like, that's okay. But it's not okay to prey on people and make them feel like the only reason to exercise is to change your body, because that's just false. There are so many health benefits that have nothing to do with size. So So I find it really hard. I try to just spread the message like, you know, I'm very into we can be strong, and let's look at the number on our dumbbells instead of the number on our scale. And
I love that.
you know, it's hard. And then I do get women who come to me, they want to lose weight, and I always just try to say to them, like, there's nothing wrong with that. However, if that's your only goal, I don't think that you'll ultimately be successful, because what happens when you hit that number?
Right.
Like, can we think about maybe instead of that, what are some things in your life that you'd like to do? What are some activities that you can't do now that you'd like to be able to do? And I find that we have more success when we do that. And they say, oh, yeah, I was able to bike 35 kilometers with my kids, and, you know, I didn't feel dead the next day, or I was able to do it and I didn't need that many breaks, and so that kind of thing. But it's hard. I feel like every day on social media in the industry is an uphill battle.
It's true. And even like my son is 13 and came home from school the other day after being in school for like 2 days and was like, oh, you know, all the popular kids are so skinny and I want to hit the gym and all this other stuff. And I'm like trying to dissuade that kind of language. Like, I'm happy for him to get positive relationship with fitness, because that's been a lifesaver for me from a mental standpoint. But this messaging that like you have to be skinny to be popular and all this other garbage. And I was just like, I'm happy to support you. Like, if you want to work on fitness and getting stronger and faster for rugby, 100%. But if we're just talking about like being skinny, then we have to have a bigger conversation about that, because that's just not, you know, but it's still happening, even though in some ways we've come so far with like body positivity and the language about it, but it's still rooted in that like skinny is good, heavier is bad. Like, it's just so frustrating.
I'm with you. I feel like in some ways we've come a long way, but in other ways we've gone so backwards. And I look at different people, like, you know, point out Alicia McCarville, and I mean, she's working out all the time and she's strong and she can lift weights, and the girl can just, you know, go at it in the gym. And the horrific comments she gets because of her weight, it's awful. And I think that sometimes, you know, it's tough on the kids, because no matter, you know, they show up online and somebody's always going to be behind the screen saying, you know, you're fat.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's brutal,
Yeah.
right? I've faced it a lot as a blogger, as somebody who Instagrams, as an influencer. I've had so many people send me messages, and it's like, oh, thanks for letting me know that. Like, why are you doing this? And we're not, you know, as parents, it's so hard to be in one way teaching our kids just about being healthy and being active, and then you've got
the messaging is definitely skewed. So it's just,
exactly skewed messaging.
Well,
it's hard.
Yeah, a lot of the problem is we've got a lot of influencers who just look the way they do because of their genetics.
Yeah.
And they don't I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say they don't understand that that's why they look whatever you want to call it, muscular, or, you know. And so in their minds, they think, oh, it's because I did this one thing.
Yeah.
And then they tell everybody that if you guys just do what I'm doing, and if you just eat what I'm eating, you'll look like me. And that's the message that gets out there, and that's that surface level message that people see, and nobody's going to think, well, no, maybe it's your genetics.
Yes.
Nobody's going to think that.
Yeah.
And those are the people, I think, that probably algorithm promotes. And, you know, I don't want to be an influencer on Instagram. I want to be an educator. But you also have to accept that role of influencer a little bit.
Yes.
But I'm very self-conscious because I don't have a six-pack, you know, like, and I'm like, okay, well, I can only wear leggings that come up to here because my kids wrecked my stomach, and, you know, like, and I have to make sure I'm at this angle so that, you know, I look the way I think I need to look. And it's a bit ridiculous.
You still, even somebody who's in fit, you still feel that way.
Well, because like you said, there'll be those people
right
that will
come
at you for anything.
I think Birds Papaya is doing it really well. You know, she's just like, here's the stretch marks. She just did a water. Did you see the water jug she was selling through Canadian Tire?
Yes, I did, actually.
And the pattern on it is her stretch marks. I'm like, oh, what a beautiful pattern. But when you look at it, it's like, wow, those are her stretch marks. That is amazing. And And I do think that we need to normalize that more with our kids, because they need to see that there's perfection in the imperfection.
Yeah.
You know, not in that whatever we deem is supposed to be the perfect body. And even growing up, like I remember even in the 80s, you know, all of the different fashion models I aspired to be and look like.
Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda workouts.
It's not that old, am I? Yeah,
Well, I was
kinda
doing
am.
Jane Fonda workouts.
Yeah, I kind of am. But yes, Jane Fonda and the like. A lot of them are like airbrushed to death.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But as a teenager, I didn't know that. You know, and now with filters and everything else, like we're just skewing the look of our bodies online, and it's not real. And you're in a tough environment.
It is, because I want to encourage women to get stronger and to, you know, feel encouraged that you can lift weights and you can do hard things and you can lift heavy things. And I want to get that message across without saying, but you don't have to look a certain way. I just want you to be able to do this for your health.
Yeah, particularly with menopause and perimenopause,
yeah.
where bone strength and density is such a concern. And many women don't lift heavy. I personally love to lift heavy. The heavier, the better.
Looking to relax and rejuvenate? Treat yourself at Bello Day Spa. Located in the heart of Bedford West, from luxurious facials and brow services to soothing massages, waxing, and perfect manis, pedis, their team has you covered. Bello Day Spa isn't just a place for pampering. Their friendly staff will help you find the perfect skincare products from their wide selection of premium lines. Ready to refresh your routine? Book your appointment today and discover why Bello Day Spa is your neighborhood go-to spot for relaxation and self-care. Bello Day Spa, your local relaxation retreat.
I didn't for years. And now I love it. But I didn't think I was going to love it, and I shied away for it for a really long time. And I think a lot of women do that. We just think, I can't do that, or maybe I don't want to do that because it is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
A little bit, right? Like you're like, oh, this is kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's intimidating.
It's very intimidating, especially that's kind of what I do with my online program. Like a lot of women don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Because it is an extremely intimidating environment. A lot of gym bros that may make you feel uncomfortable or glare at you if you're on the machine too long, or, you know. So I'm kind of like, you know what? We can have dumbbells and we can do this at home in your living room, me and you. And I'm going to be a goofball, and, you know, you're going to see me probably lift something that may be too heavy for me and, you know, like go, oh, whoops, you know, or you're going to see me like lift something and say, actually, guys, this wasn't heavy enough today. Like, you know, and you're going to see me mess up on things and not edit it out. And we can just make this comfortable. We don't have to be at a gym and feel intimidated.
Yeah, I think that's so important.
I did some weights for a couple of years in my 40s and loved it. Really loved the energy it gave me, the strength, the feeling of strength it gave me.
It's empowering.
It is empowering.
It is.
But I don't know if I would be comfortable doing it at home personally, because I almost need somebody. I'm very awkward, you know. I've got no rhythm. So I almost need somebody to say, no, you're holding it wrong, or you're in the wrong position.
Yeah. Well, and some of my clients, they'll come in and do a private with me or a set of privates, and then they'll transition to online. But because I train people in person, I get very, I don't know what the word is, like, I know where you're probably going to be doing things that need slight correcting. So I can say, like, okay, you know, when I do this with people in person, I often see the arm in this position. So I'm going to cue you to put the arm in this position so that, you know, you can get the most out of the exercise. But it's also important to know that, like, you're probably not going to hurt yourself. Because if you're just starting out, I'm going to encourage you to go lighter. And then as you get more comfortable with it, you're going to really start to know your body. And I'm going to tell you, like, here's what you may want to feel, here's what you may not want to feel, you know. And then when you feel like, okay, this is really easy, then we're going to add a little bit of weight, but not a lot of weight.
Great.
You know, so I feel like there is a way to do it at home.
Yeah, because I like the idea of doing it at home where I don't want to be, I hate going to the gym where I'm being looked at. I'm uncomfortable with that. Does that bother you too? Because you love going to the gym.
Yeah,
Alex.
I mean, it used to a lot more than it does now. I have a lot more confidence now, but I go to a gym that's group classes. So it's not me just walking into like the loose weights area and doing my own routine and trying to like, take the dumbbells from the bros or anything like that. There are definitely men in my class, but it's all, it's very circuit driven and there's stations and you're working with a few other people at a time. So that to me is a little less intimidating. I was super intimidated when I first started going to that particular gym. And that's the same way I am anytime I join a new gym, especially if it's a different kind of class or a different technique or something. But then it's just getting used to it and getting into the motions and the instructors are key. Like if you have someone that really makes you feel seen, and takes the time to make sure that you have the right things and encourages you and fixes your form. I used to be super embarrassed about having my form fixed, and now I'm like, please fix my form. I don't want to hurt myself. Please come over, tell me what I'm doing wrong. And that to me is a good instructor, whereas before I used to shy away from anybody that would tell me I was doing something because I didn't want anyone looking at me or thinking that I didn't know what I was doing. But now I have a completely different mindset about it.
And we talked about that in our first season opener about when you do something new, right? It's uncomfortable. Or go to a new gym. Like maybe even you've been going to the gym forever and then all of a sudden you go to a new gym, new people, new equipment, and suddenly you've got that imposter syndrome again.
For sure. Well, you don't want to be the only one that doesn't know what they're doing. And that's how you always feel like when you go to a fitness class or a gym or something, you feel like you're the only one in there that doesn't know what they're doing and everyone else has been doing it forever and they're all going to stop what they're doing and stare at you and laugh and point at you in the corner.
Well,
but that's never going to happen. No.
I will admit that I kept hearing about all these girls that were doing these bar classes and I was like, oh, I imagined that they were holding, don't laugh at me, the weight bar without the weights on it. Because that thing in itself is heavy, right? So I imagined that it was a whole class of moving that thing around.
That would be a good class.
Like, right? To me, you're like going to whack into each other. And I thought, oh, that would be a very interesting class with the bar. But anyway, apparently you're in front of like a ballet bar.
Ballet bar. Also very challenging.
Right? Yeah. I had a whole different idea. So you have an app.
I do.
Tell us about your app and how does...
When hearing you say that out loud, I'm like, oh, I do.
I do. I have an app. Yeah, tell us about your app.
Well, I've got it. It's a membership-based app, so people join monthly and yearly. And what they get is they get a strength training program, but they also get Pilates and mobility because one thing that is really important for any woman over 30, 35, whatever, is we need recovery days. And it's something that, I've encountered a lot of women that don't want to take them or don't understand the importance. So I wanted a well-rounded program. So I do a weekly training program for the members of the app. So every week it's like, here's your schedules. These are the workouts you're going to do. I fully guide all of the workouts. It's like you're in the room with me. But there'll be like strength one day and then the next day maybe a mobility session and then strength, maybe lower body, maybe we did upper body and then we'll do Pilates and then maybe a cardio and then maybe a full body. So I make it balanced. And some of them are, when they first join, they're like, oh, I don't know, like these workouts are really short. Like they're not, they're like 30 minutes. There's nothing over 40, but I did have someone actually a few weeks ago write me and say, well, I don't know if this will be right for me because I'm used to doing hour-plus workouts. And I said, look, just trust me. Everything we do is very focused. You will be done by like 34 minutes. You won't want to do more. And she actually just messaged me yesterday and she was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like I feel amazing. But there is that mindset that you've got to do the hour-long boot camp or it's got to be 45 minutes of hardcore cardio or it doesn't count. And I'm trying to show you no, you can be a very busy woman that has maybe 30 minutes and we're going to train you and hopefully you'll have some fun. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, I think it's amazing.
I think it's great. I think, you're right. That hustle culture that we see in productivity and in our work is also there, like with that no rest day thing. And I definitely subscribed to that mentality for a long time. I was like, oh, rest days. Like I don't need those, blah, blah, blah. But In fact, the rest days are what help you get
Well,
stronger.
that's when you build the muscle.
Yeah. So, but it is that mentality of like, oh, I need to be going every day. I can't take a day off. I can't rest because that's like laziness or like looked down on. But I think it's great that you're working to put more awareness around that because it was pretty eye-opening for me.
Yeah,
I don't want
think
to hurt
it's-
myself.
No,
Like,
that's
I'm
right.
too old now. I can't recover.
Yeah.
Right. I just think your journey is so fascinating that, from having your own studio, working in other gyms, having your own studio, doing online training, having an app, doing the coaching. Like that's
so when those feelings
Yeah.
of you had mentioned a few times where you felt like an imposter or you felt like some self-doubt, what did you do then to overcome that and keep going forward? Because it clearly didn't stop you.
no.
No, but I think you know what? You take a half a day and you have a bath, and maybe you feel a little sorry for yourself, and just think, well, I don't know if I can do this. And then I am very much a type of person that will just kind of get on with things, but I will need that time of just like.
But your wallow is only half a day.
Well, no, maybe
That's
it might
impressive.
be. I don't know. Maybe it is now. It probably was a couple days back then. I would probably whine to my husband, who, I mean, God love him, like, doesn't have a lot of input on any of this. He's not on social media. He really does not care. So just kind of talk at him, and he would give me the, like, oh, it'll be fine. I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm sure you can do, like, just that generic, he's the king of generic advice. But that kind of stuff. So then, okay, you're not very helpful. And then, sometimes talk to my friends. Sometimes I don't know if this is good or bad, like going back and reading like a testimonial from a client
Oh, 100%.
or like, nice messages that I've gotten where I felt like, no, you helped this person. You did that. And that sometimes is what I need to keep going, because I think a lot of times as women, we hear the positive things, but I know I gloss over it, and I'll only think of that negative thing that one person 5 years ago told me, and it will play in a loop.
Yeah.
I think that's funny. We've had a few guests say that they do something similar, and we recommend that to people too. And we have speaking engagements to have like a hooray folder. I think Krista had
hooray
called it,
folder,
or documenting your wins in some way is so useful to go back.
Yeah.
And I just started that literally this week.
Oh, did you really?
I think maybe I heard it on your podcast because it wasn't something that I did.
Yeah, fill it with your testimonials with like that email that client sent you saying, oh, wait, it changed.
Yeah.
It's working now. And like all of those things. So when you're feeling bad about yourself or down on yourself, like a Mother's Day card from your kid, like that was a really sweet card, like photograph it and put it in there in that hooray folder. And then when you're feeling down, you open that folder up and all the good things that people, because we are so quick to knock ourselves down that we need sometimes to really be very strategic to pull ourselves back up.
Well, and I think too, because I'm in a position where I lift other women up and I help other women try to calm their anxiety, sometimes I feel like an imposter if I have anxiety. Or, when you're in that position of like being other people's cheerleader, and then sometimes there's no one to be your cheerleader. And I feel like, well, what a fake I am. I'm feeling depressed. And I told them that exercise made me feel happy.
Oh, no.
Right?
Yeah, that's
and
an
so
interesting layer.
That's a conundrum. Like,
Right?
I've never thought of that.
But I mean, I think we're human. Like, of
Yeah.
course, I think that exercise makes me feel great 99% of the time, or maybe 98% of the time. But like,
But you're still a human
I'm still a
being
human. Yeah.
that can get down in the dumps at
And I
times.
have had, in my 20s, I had terrible anxiety. And even in my 30s, really, I had terrible anxiety and depression. So this brought me out of a dark hole. But I don't talk about that a lot. But if I think where I was, like I picture myself, I was living in Montreal in a basement apartment, the ants all over the floor, and just laying in bed being like, what am I doing with my life? Like dark hole to where I am now. I think, I've come so far, but I never really allow myself to feel like you've come a really long way.
You got to pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, sometimes I know, but it's hard because we need other people sometimes.
Right.
Exactly.
So who are your hype people?
I would say
Your husband does not sound like a big hype person.
that's so mean.
I must say.
I mean, he fully
Mildly, generically supportive still.
Generically supportive, yes.
Supportive.
he does support me, but I also think he's just kind of like, go do your thing, have fun. there's a great group of women in my community. A lot of them are my clients, which is fantastic. 'Cause, I have a line that's kind of like mushy between friend and client, which I don't know. I think it's okay. I've got a wonderful book club of just these amazing women. My kids most of the time when they're not pointing out like my wrinkles and, all the other things.
Facts. Being kids.
Yeah. My 14-year-old did tell me that when I die, he would like to take over the business.
Okay.
That's sweet of him.
That's
so that's encouraging.
he must
thinks
feel
you're
proud.
doing a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also wants you dead, just so you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then
He didn't say when.
He didn't say when.
And then, other fitness professionals that are going through the same thing, some of whom I have met on Instagram who are, all over the world, which is kind of cool. And so, we can message each other when I'm feeling like, Instagram's being Instagrammy,
One of the ways to combat imposter syndrome is to actually listen to how awesome the people in your life think you are. If you're looking for the perfect gift for a loved one, where you can tell them all of the things that make them special, visit my Drawbridge Creative Etsy shop and purchase a Things We Love About You custom poster. With several styles to choose from, it's a fabulous gift for any milestone birthday, anniversary, retirement, or just because. Well, that's right, because you and I will, with social media marketing, we'll often send each other a message going, oh my God, Instagram's being an ass today. Mm-hmm. But you're running into it as well because of your online business. Like we have to use these tools to run our business, but they can be very
I often
frustrating.
think I'd love to say goodbye to Instagram, but it's like my lifeline to my, online clientele.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of us feel that way.
Yeah.
It's a love-hate relationship.
It is.
It really is.
Talk to us a little bit about the influencer part of your brand, because I know you do some brand partnerships. And is there ever been time where you've done something that maybe didn't feel as aligned and you had some imposter syndrome around that? And if so, how did you navigate that?
There have been some things that I said yes to that in hindsight probably shouldn't have said yes to. I think there was a probiotic pill that I said yes to, and then afterwards was like, you know what, I'm never going to take this again, and I really shouldn't have signed on, for the one that I did. There's been some fitness equipment, and now I have a hard rule that if I'm never going to use this, I will not, do any type of partnership. My husband's really happy about that because there was a pile up at one point of things that I did for Instagram posts and then never used again. That he was like, get these out of the house. So I feel like I've really, in trying to be a bit more of an educator and less of an influencer, I really now have a very hard line of partnerships that I'll do. So I'll do things like workout clothes, because we all have to get dressed to work out. I have one supplement company, like protein powder company, that I partner with, and I won't do anything else with anyone else, and it's the one that I use.
Well, exactly. It's the one you use.
It's the one that I
you
use.
recommend.
I've already been using it.
Yeah.
And I have no, qualms about that. And then the other one is they make weights and weight benches.
Okay.
And I've partnered with them, and that's it. And I don't really foresee myself doing anything else. And I say no, multiple times a week to different ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can really only align yourselves with the one that you use anyway. This is what I recommend. This is, so it's great that you can form some partnerships with some of those companies, though, because it certainly helps pay the bills. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's chit-chat about your type of imposter syndrome. So you said that you were... Do you remember what you said you were?
I did. I said I felt like all of them, but I did say that I feel most like the expert, but then also a little bit the perfectionist as well.
Yeah, the expert, I'm not surprised by, based on just all of the different courses you take and always wanting to stay on top of your game. So the expert is the knowledge version of the perfectionist. So you're also the perfectionist.
Yeah.
For the expert, the primary concern is on what and how much you know or can do, because you expect to know everything. Even a minor lack of knowledge denotes failure. So if you don't know how to do something, you're kind of freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I had a client a few years ago, and she came in with frozen shoulder. And I was stumped because I had never had anybody with frozen shoulder. And what did I do that night? Enrolled in a course because I just couldn't handle, and then took the course and learned there's not really that much you can
do for frozen
It's actually
shoulder.
a menopause thing too.
It is a
frozen shoulder.
it's a menopause thing,
It
which I now
is?
know.
Yeah, I
it
just
is. It's
read that the other day.
very common. Women in their mid-50s mostly, and it often will just resolve on its own. But yeah, I do, and it is what I've gotten better at, and what I'm trying to get better at is saying, I don't know, but I can do some research on that for you, or recognizing when some things are just outside of my scope of practice,
Yes.
and then referring on to someone, like if someone comes in with really bad pelvic floor symptoms, which is another symptom of
menopause, yeah.
I can just say, you know what? Here's a lovely pelvic floor specialist. You can go see them, and we can continue our training within the scope of what you can do. But it's hard. I don't like to not know things.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's the perfectionist part of things.
Mm-hmm.
So the perfectionist's primary focus is on how something is done, includes how work is conducted, how it turns out one minor flaw in an otherwise stellar performance. You feel like you didn't do it right. So that's got to be hard with you putting your workouts online. Do you sometimes look at the video after and think, oh, I should have been in this position or that position?
I have re-recorded things
Yeah.
for that reason, because I cannot put that out. Yeah, it's hard. And it's hard when to think, can I let this go? Like my dog barked for 3 minutes straight in one of the videos. He barked at nothing. There was nothing there. I'll never know what it was. And I just thought, do I re-film the whole thing because he barked for 3 minutes? Now, ultimately, I didn't. I kind of edited it with music, but it killed me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those perfectionist tendencies can make it almost impossible to even post anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to find that balance between what's acceptable. But I also think some of that is relatable too. So sometimes you have to leave those things in because it's relatable content. We're working out at home, you're going to hear dogs bark. If you have a dog.
Yeah.
Dogs around.
My kids have interrupted. They've run in the window, like when they were littler, they would, and someone did I got a comment, and she said, I actually loved seeing your kids. And I thought, what? Because I was horrified.
Yeah,
I almost didn't put it out.
That's the authenticity of it all, though.
Well, it humanizes you
humanizes,
too.
yeah.
It humanizes you to them,
Yeah.
to your client base, which is always a really good thing to build connection.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of your kids running past the window, tell us a little bit about your life as a mom and being a working mom at that.
Yeah. It's, of course, I love my kids. They're wonderful. I have 2 boys. One's almost 12, the other one's 14. And my husband travels a lot. So I do everything, and then also single parent, probably for about half the month. It's a lot because as somebody who's in health and fitness, I feel a commitment to try to, be a role model for them. And I think kids are very quick to point out if you are not being a role model. I don't know about your kids.
Yeah, mine is.
Any little flaw or any little crack they see, they'll, hey, Mom, why are you eating that?
Oh,
Like if I gave them a 10-minute speech about vegetables and then I'm eating, I don't know, chocolate.
Pop-Tart.
Yeah, or something like, what are you doing? They'll be the first to criticize me. But ultimately, I hope that other moms, or even just, you don't have to be a mom, but other busy women can see, I don't spend my whole day working out. I've got a 30-minute window, and you might see the kids in it sometimes, but you can do this. I hope that you can also find that 30 minutes, whether it's at the beginning of the day or the end of the day or whenever, that you can take some time for yourself. Because I'm a very firm believer that as women and as moms as well, we don't take that time for ourselves. No one's going to give it to us. And those 30 minutes for me are when I'm not thinking about the kids and where I need to take them and who needs what and what laundry. Those 30 minutes, I'm so focused on the weight that I need to lift or this exercise that I need to do. And can I do one more, that there's no room for the other stuff. So it's really a good way to beat that mom anxiety for me.
Yeah, I think so too. It keeps you present, which, it's such a struggle to stay in the present. at any time, especially if you're worrying about what's happening next or what's happening at school or, you know, what conversations you're going to have or what you get up to make for fucking dinner, for Christ's sakes. Oh, I hate it so much.
I hate dinner.
The dinner thing is
awful?
It really, it's endless.
It
It's
is.
every day.
Every day
yeah.
they still need to eat.
Yeah,
I know.
and mine are quite critical because some nights I pull out some very elaborate things, and then there's an expectation that that's going to be every night.
Yeah. Luckily, I've never set that expectation in my house.
My expectation was always pretty low too. They didn't. Okay, let's do this.
Oh, yeah. Speed round.
Speed round.
This is the part I'm most scared about.
Really?
Yeah, people say that.
So many people say that.
Menopause brain fog. Sometimes it goes literally blank in here.
Yeah. Right? It's like the what's that show? Is it Family Feud? And you sit back and you're watching Family Feud sometimes thinking, how on earth can they not come up with that
Oh,
answer?
the speed round, yeah.
And then it's like, oh, yeah, it's, you know, even people on the radio, like when they ask questions,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
how
those
did you
little
not get that?
contests, yeah.
Like, unless you're in that position. Yeah. All right. Alex, go for it.
Oh, it's me. Okay.
We're going to ask 5 questions.
Can you pick me 2 more? Oh, my God.
Okay. And then if you can answer in one word, answer in one word. If not, answer in more. How's that?
All right, here we go. What is your favorite type of food?
I shouldn't say this as a health and fitness person. Chocolate.
Right.
Good, you should say that.
You should say that. It's our favorite type too.
It's got health benefits.
It does.
Yeah.
Like keeping me from being very angry all the time. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Bad drivers.
Oh, mine too.
My God, I get angry in the car sometimes.
Yeah.
Should
Right?
probably have more chocolate in the car, I guess.
More chocolate. Yes.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Oh, yes, you have a dog.
That's right.
Baby.
Should have known the
Yes.
answer to that one
Yeah.
before I asked it. What's the best gift you've ever received?
Oh, this is a hard one.
That is tough.
I mean, I'm not gonna my children. No, I don't know, but well, okay.
Your
They might
children.
listen to this. My children.
They might not listen. They probably aren't going to listen to
aren't
this.
gonna, but in case
No.
they do.
Okay, your
But
children.
if not, then my dog. Probably my dog.
Fair. This is sort of similar, though. What's your favorite type of cuisine?
That's fancy food.
Yeah, well, that's like
I don't
the
know how-
type of food.
Probably Japanese sushi. Stuff I can't make that very well at home, and I really appreciate it when I go out to eat.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, you love sushi too.
I do.
Thank you, Shaina. I think I really enjoyed chit-chatting with you. I feel like you've kind of got my head going here a little bit that I might actually want to spend some time with you and get back to some weights, and that I could probably do that in my living room. So thank you.
I love chatting with you. I love your message. I love your stance on things. I think it's so important. So I look forward to seeing what else you put out there, especially the menopause content.
Oh, the menopause content, yes. So where can people find you online?
They can find me at my website, which connects to my app, which is ShainaFalconeFitness.com. And then they can find me on Instagram at Shaina Falcone Fitness.
Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Imposter Sisters. Please remember, we're not doctors or mental health experts. If you're looking for mental health guidance, please see our show notes for local resources. Until next time, keep your head high, and we will see you next Tuesday.